Hey, what's going on YouTube? EasyTech231 here with my review of the OnePlus 2. So yes, this is the OnePlus 2, the phone that OnePlus hopes will compete with, or as they say, kill all the other flagships out there. So with the 16GB model coming in at $329 and the 64GB model coming in at $389, can the OnePlus 2 compete with the other flagships out there, much less kill them? Let's go ahead and find out. So I'm going to go ahead and jump straight into the specs here and get them out of the way. If you didn't already know, the OnePlus 2 has a 5.5-inch 1080p display that a lot of people were a little disappointed with. A lot of us were hoping OnePlus would equip this year's phone with a higher resolution display, perhaps a 1440p display, and that's because a lot of manufacturers out there slap that 2K display on their flagship phones. But of course, with this phone, it would have bumped the price up a little bit higher. But to be completely honest, this 1080p panel looks really good. The colors look nice and text is clean and sharp. Now of course, the colors aren't nearly as vibrant as they are on AMOLED displays, but take it from someone who's used AMOLED displays for years. The screen on the OnePlus 2 is pretty nice. Now getting into the phone's hardware, I gotta say, this is one of the best built phones ever. Really, this thing is solid. The edges are encased with an all-metal band to give you that nice premium look and feel, but the back is a little bit different. The back on the OnePlus 2 has a really nice sandstone texture. It's like nothing I've ever felt before on a phone. And what's really cool about it, it's removable, and you can replace it with 4 other different types of backs that OnePlus has on their website. So the materials that OnePlus went with the OnePlus 2, they're incredible. I really love the build quality on this phone. I love the combination of the metal and the sandstone back. It's a really, really solid phone, and it doesn't bend, and it does not creak or squeak or anything like that. It's a very solid device. So taking a closer look around the phone, you'll find the headphone jack and a microphone up on the top, the volume rocker and the power button on the right hand side. On the bottom you'll find the speakers and the USB Type-C port. On the left you'll find the new alert slider. And on the back you'll find a 13 megapixel camera, dual LED flash, laser autofocus, and some OnePlus branding. Now as for the power that this guy packs, you're looking at a revamped Snapdragon 810 processor, 4 gigabytes of RAM, and a 3300 mAh battery. So while a lot of you guys really like hearing about the specs and you care about them, the rest of you guys probably don't, and you really just want to know how the OnePlus 2 performs in daily use. So, how well does it perform? Oh yeah, that's an easy one. This thing is fast. It handles daily use like a boss, and those 4 gigabytes of RAM really help the device take on loads of apps opened up at the same time. I had zero success in making this thing lag. So there's really nothing to worry about with the overall performance. Games run smoothly, scrolling is fast, and pretty much everything you'd expect from a 2015 flagship. As for the software that this guy is running, we're looking at Oxygen OS 2.0. As of this video, we're on version 2.0.1. It's pretty much just stock Android with a few added features. And to tell you the truth, I would really like to see these features in the full-on pure stock version of Android. Within Oxygen OS, you can enable software keys to use those instead of the capacitive keys that are enabled by default. And with that, you can assign different actions to these buttons when you double tap or hold them, which is pretty neat. Here I have the home button set to open the camera when I double tap it, kind of like on the S6. In the OnePlus launcher, you can change the icons, which I really enjoy because I like messing around with different icon packs. You can enable a system-wide dark theme, as well as select an accent theme to go with it. You've also got these pretty sweet gestures for when the screen is off. You can draw a V to activate the flashlight, you can draw an O to open up the camera. You can also activate music controls by drawing left and right arrows and swiping down with 2 fingers to play and pause music. And my personal favorite, double tap to wake. There are other things like being able to change the LED light colors for different notifications and being able to rearrange the icons in the quick settings menu. And here's what OnePlus calls Shelf. It's pretty much an extra page all the way to the left hand side of your home screen used to store your most frequently used apps, your most frequent contacts, and your favorite widgets. So as of right now, Oxygen OS is pretty much my favorite skinned version of Android, and in my opinion, this is what stock Android should look like. Next up, battery life. Is it good? Yes, battery life on the OnePlus 2 is good. Not great, but good. Now it's not as good as the OnePlus 1's battery life, which is pretty disappointing because on the OnePlus 1, people were getting about 5 to 6 hours of screen on time, whereas on the OnePlus 2, I average about 3.5 to 4 hours of screen on time. And there was even this one instant where I got over 5 hours of screen on time on the OnePlus 2, but within my 2.5 weeks of using the phone as my daily driver, I only saw this once, so that was pretty disappointing. So there's really nothing to worry about with the OnePlus 2's battery. I can get through a full day with heavy usage, and I still have enough juice to spare before I go to bed. Alright, so let's go ahead and take a closer look at these cameras. 13 megapixel on the back is pretty good. It's nowhere near the LG G4's camera, and it most certainly cannot touch the S6/Note 5 camera. However, camera performance was very good in my opinion. A lot of people have reported the OnePlus 2's camera to be slow, and I agree with that to an extent. Yes, there is a small delay from you pressing the button to the phone actually taking the picture, but it's not painstakingly slow, so don't worry about that too much. Picture quality is crisp and clear outdoors, and it performs fairly well in low light conditions. As for additional shooting modes, there's panorama mode, which is a typical add-on these days, slow motion mode that I feel is a great addition, and it works well, and there's even a time-lapse mode, which I thought was pretty awesome. And probably the most notable shooting mode is the HDR mode, which kind of looks like a filter, but I was still impressed with how nice the pictures looked. As for video quality, the OnePlus 2 does very well in my opinion. It's not perfect, but quality is nice and focusing is fairly quick, and you can shoot in UHD, also known as 4K, for about 10 minutes at a time. Now the camera isn't amazing by any means. You will get some nice clear pictures out of this, but if you're a mobile photographer, you will notice some downsides here and there. But overall, the camera is more than solid, and I enjoyed the results I got out of it. Now for you selfie takers out there, you guys want to know how good the front-facing camera is. Well, here's the thing. I don't really take selfies. In this clip, I just took more selfies than I ever have. Just pick your spots carefully with this camera and you'll be fine. Alright, moving on to the speakers, or shall I say speaker. Yes, on the bottom of this phone you have two speaker grills, but the sound only shoots out the right side, which I thought was interesting. Sound quality is just alright. It is better than I expected, and with the added audio equalizer, the speaker on this phone delivered a fuller sound than what I was expecting. But they're nowhere near as good as front-firing speakers. Maybe we'll see that on the OnePlus 3? Now, in between those two speaker grills, we have controversy. The USB Type-C port. Yes, there seems to be a lot of beef surrounding this very port right here. If you don't know what USB Type-C is, it's pretty much a port that allows you to insert the cable any way. There's no right side up, which is really nice to have, but at the same time, there's no quick charge feature in this phone. So while USB Type-C may be future-proof, we're still going to be dealing with slower charging speeds. Some of the previous phones that I've used have the quick charge feature, and I was able to charge them from 0 to 100% in about an hour to an hour and a half. But since the OnePlus 2 does not feature the quick charge feature, it takes about twice that long to charge this phone from 0 to 100%. For me, it's not really a huge deal, but for some, it might be. Now let's go ahead and get into what makes this phone stand out a little bit more from the other phones out there. We're taking a look at the fingerprint reader and the alert slider. Now of course, the fingerprint reader has been around on phones for a long time, but this is OnePlus's first attempt at this. Not only is it a fingerprint scanner, but it also doubles as the phone's capacitive home button that's flanked by two optional recent app and back buttons. I never really used fingerprint scanners on phones until now, and my experience with it, great. It read my fingerprint accurately about 95% of the time, and I really like how you can just rest your finger on the phone and it'll both wake and unlock the phone in an instant. So the fingerprint reader, yeah, it's a go. Now on to this alert slider. Now this is something I haven't used since my days of the iPhone. It's a small add-on, but it's extremely useful. Sliding it to the up position will silence your notifications, the middle position will only allow priority notifications, and all the way down will allow all your notifications. I kind of wish that the orientation of this switch would be flipped, where all notifications would be in the upward position and no notifications would be the down position. Now of course I'm just nitpicking here, and the alert slider is really cool. It's especially useful when I'm working and I can't take any notifications. I don't have to unlock the phone and mash the volume down button to silence all of my notifications. All I have to do is pull it out of my pocket and just slide the slider all the way up and I'm done. So the hardware is very impressive. It's incredibly solid with metal and a sandstone finish on the back. It feels really good in the hand. It's got a very decent camera. It's got good battery life and USB Type-C. It's got a fingerprint reader and a large 5.5-inch display that's only 0.2 of an inch smaller than the Note 5 display, but it doesn't have that wow, this is a big phone feel in the hand. And it also runs near pure stock Android. So really, what else is left for the consumers to ask for? Nothing, right? Well, unfortunately, no. There's no removable battery on the OnePlus 2. There's no NFC either. There's also no micro SD card slot. And as I stated earlier, the OnePlus 2 utilizes a much slower USB connector to charge the phone. Now for me, not being able to remove the battery is not a huge deal, but for some people it is. In my opinion, I feel like they should have ditched the extra SIM card slot and replaced it with a micro SD card slot. That would have instantly sold me on this phone. OnePlus didn't include NFC on the OnePlus 2 because according to them, not enough people used it. In my opinion, they should have just left it on there, and whoever doesn't want to use it doesn't have to use it. It doesn't get in the way or anything. But these specific downsides really come down to personal preference. And not everybody will miss NFC, and some people will. The same thing goes for quick charge, removable battery, and the SD card slot. Now of course the phone isn't perfect. However, the problems that I did have with it can easily be solved with a software update. So there's really overall not too much wrong with this phone. And it's also borderline impossible to get your hands on one of these phones. Unfortunately, OnePlus still uses the invite system. Hopefully they'll change that in the future. So, is this phone worth all the hype? Not so much. Is it a flagship killer? Definitely not. However, forgetting what it doesn't have and taking into consideration what it offers, you're looking at a very, very good device, and it's one of the best phones out there, if not the best phone, for the price. So while it may not be a flagship killer, and taking into consideration its price and its specs, this phone is without a doubt a contender in today's market. So that wraps it up for my review on the OnePlus 2. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, feel free to smash that like button. Leave your thoughts on the OnePlus 2 down below in the comments. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at EasyTech231. And if you haven't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button down there as well. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video. Later, guys. However, camera performance, really? Performance?